You're listening to Living in Spain podcasts with David Wright.
Good morning, Almeria, and welcome to The Right Way with me, David Wright. A big thanks to Nikki Noodles for another great show. Thanks, Nikki. On today's show, I want to talk a little bit about medical care here in Spain and just what is the treatment like for British people if they do need to go and have a hospital stay here. I have had a lot of questions about hospitals in Spain, and people are a little worried about what it's really like and what sort of treatment British people that are living here would receive. Now, I'm not talking about doctor's appointments or just visiting your local GP, but it may be you need to stay in hospital for some reason. And is the service and treatment anything like what we used to in the UK? It's bad enough when you're struggling to order your food at a bar or restaurant here in Spain, especially if your Spanish is a bit basic. But just imagine if you're alone here in a Spanish hospital. What's it really like for British people? With COVID here, there have been some new changes to the rules, and many hospitals have now introduced some new visitors passes, limiting visits and people to the hospitals. So we'll be talking about these and just how they work and what you can now expect if you need to visit people in a Spanish hospital. I like to get expert advice from top people who are in the know. And this week is no exception. I have yet another expert guest on my show who will help give British people some insights to what it's really like in the Spanish hospitals here and what sort of things British people need to be aware of. Also, I hope after listening to my Spanish expert guest today, it will help put your mind at ease. None of us really like thinking about it much, but we're all getting a little bit older. And as the time goes on, there is higher chance that we will one day need to have a stay in hospital. So having some inside information and tips could help make these times a little less stressful. To help me on today's show, I have a very special guest joining me to give us some inside tips and advice for British people that, God forbid, may need to go into hospital here, and what can they expect. So before I start the show, a quick thank you to the sponsors of my show, Salvador Tax and Legal, who have offices here in Almeria, in Mojaca and in Norbox, helping people with all their accounts, tax and paperwork. Remember that the end of June is the deadline to submit your tax returns, so you need to check with your accountant or tax professional here to see if you've done all it is required, especially if you're a tax resident here in Spain. Before I bring out my Spanish guest today, I just want to give some of my personal views on the treatment that I've had here myself over the 20 years here in Spain. Some British people may be pretty concerned or worried about going into hospital here and what it is really like. There's lots of rumours about what hospitals are like here in Spain, but these are my personal views and experiences I've had here. Many years ago, I had to have an operation on my hand after a nasty accident I had with an electric saw here and my thumb. I was rushed into hospital and had to have surgery on my hand. Right from the start, I was lucky enough to find a doctor and a surgeon that spoke pretty good English. After the operation, I had to have months of aftercare service from the nurses as a day patient at the hospital, and the treatment I had on my hand was always first class. But one thing, none of the nurses I spoke to after the initial operation could speak much English at all, and it was a challenge for me back then when my Spanish was pretty basic. Now fast forward a few years and I had to have an operation on my eye as well, and again this was first class treatment all the way. Being self-employed back then, I didn't have to pay for any of the treatment as it was included in my social security payments through my self-employed benefits here. But the eye operation I had was in a private hospital and I did have to pay for that. The reason I went private for that was because I didn't want to wait and I needed to get back to work, and it was quite a serious operation and I wanted to make sure I had the best possible treatment for that. For me personally, going into hospital here, the treatment I have had over the years has always been first class. The hospitals are clean and modern and I've never had to wait around much at all. quite a bit different from my experiences from the UK hospitals, although I haven't been to a UK hospital for some time now. For British people living in Spain that may be concerned about treatment in the hospitals, trust me, they are very good and very clean, and the staff are very professional. Okay, so let's talk about hospital treatment. What can you expect here living in Spain if you do need to go into a hospital? There are quite some strange rumours I've heard about family members needing to stay with you and look after you if you go into hospital, and this is expected of you in hospitals. This isn't quite true, and we're going to try and get to the bottom of this and what is it really like in hospitals in Spain. So now my guest today is Inma Torres, who has been a nurse here for over 27 years. Inma is a close friend of mine that I've known for 12 years or more, and Inma works at the Torre Cardenas Hospital here in Almeria. Hi Inma, and welcome to my show.
Hi David, thanks for inviting me on your show today. My English is not very good, but I will try and help answer a few questions.
Your English is pretty good, Inma, especially when we've had a few tapas and wines at my house. Now Inma, there are a few differences with hospitals here in Spain and the way some patients get treated that British people may find a little bit strange. There is a lot of British people saying that your family has to go and look after you and stay with you in hospital. Now you have seen many English patients here, Inma, so can you tell us a little bit about this? It's not quite true, is it?
No, the nurses do look after all patients here, but what they mean is that most Spanish families like to look after their loved ones when they go into hospital. If a family member is in hospital here, then most of the family will take it in turns to help look after them and often stay with them all day and night, sometimes sleeping in the same room as the patient.
So what about visiting hours in hospitals here?
Before COVID, there were visiting hours normally from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. at weekends and 3 p.m. till 9 p.m. in weekdays. Now, because of COVID, things have changed a bit, and there is now a visitor's pass that you have that allows one family member to stay with that person in hospital. If another family member wants to stay or visit them, then they need to wait until that person comes out and passes over that visitor's pass, so that there is only one person with that patient at any time.
So it's a visitor's pass that one person is issued and the other person comes out and you change over the visitor's pass so the next person can come in. Okay, I get it. So what about visiting times here now?
Well, most places you can stay as long as you like, even all night, but only one person at a time.
And what about the food? Is it included for the visitor as well?
Well, all patients are given food, but the visitors will be to go to the coffee bar that's in the hospital to pay for their food.
So why is it then that people say you stay all night in the hospital with your family member?
Well, I think it's more of a Spanish tradition from many years ago, where Spanish families like to stay together and all help look after the one that's in hospital.
So it's not really obligatory to stay and look after these family members then? It's just something that the Spanish people do here?
No, it's not obligatory. It's just something the Spanish have done over the years. If a person has no family or the family can't stay with them, then the nurses will do all the looking after.
Now, translations are very important as most nurses will not speak much English. Are there many nurses in the hospital where you are that speak English as well as you do?
I don't know many nurses in the hospital that speak English. Some doctors do. Younger nurses are speaking more English now.
So translation is very important then?
Yes, David, of course. It's not just that you need to have a friend translator for you. You need someone who understands the medical terms. If that person stays in hospital, it's for serious conditions. So as to give the doctor, nurse, and the patients the right information as fast as possible. It may be best to pay a professional person to do this translating if your Spanish is not perfect.
Sure. That's great. Thank you, Inma, for your help today, and thanks for sharing these tips with us today. I hope I don't need to come and see you at work anytime soon.
Por supuesto. Of course. Thanks you for inviting me on your show, David.
Thank you, Inma, for your help today. Well, that's it for another week's show. Up next, it's a Sunday lunch show with Terry Stevens. Thanks very much for listening, and adios.
If you have enjoyed this podcast by David Wright, then you will love his new books. Out now on Amazon and Kindle, packed with money-saving tips and information on living and working in Spain. Just go to livinginspainbooks.com. David also has a popular blog for expats in Spain. Come and take a look now at britishexpatsinspain.com.